Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of What Women Want Today podcast. This is your host, Terry Kellums. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Today on the show, I have a very interesting guest. Her name is Tanya Pennington-Miller, and she is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. That is a mouthful, Tanya. I'm going to have to ask you to explain that to us. She owns a business called Nourish to Thrive. She works as a hormone and fat loss specialist for women over 40. Tanya, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Terry. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So Tanya, I'm going to just jump right in with both feet today because I was introduced to you recently through a mutual friend, and I started stalking you on Instagram. And I got to tell you, you said something I didn't really like.
I'm ready for it.
You're ready? Okay. So you said we need to stop drinking every night. And you know what? I'm just feeling convicted. You hit the nail right on the head. You said it's a habit. And you know what? You couldn't be more right, because I was explaining this to my girlfriend when I was telling her about, you and your page and some of your information. I said, you know what? She's so right, because like when I get up in the morning, it's coffee. That's my signal to my body. Hey, it's time to wake up and get moving. Me and my husband sit and have coffee together every morning. And then I drink water all day. And then my evening kicks in when I pour that glass of wine and start cooking dinner. And I feel like that's my trigger that, okay, my daytime stuff is done. My husband will be home soon. It's time for us to sit down and eat dinner together. So it's such a habit. But tell us why we need to stop doing that.
Well, first, I'll say kudos to you that you do have water between the coffee and the wine.
Yeah.
So that's good. And, it's true. It is a habit. And it's kind of just like, it's like the person who has a bowl of ice cream every night.
Yes.
They're not even really enjoying that bowl of ice cream every single night, not as much as they did when they first started it. And it's the same thing with wine. You kind of just start doing it, but you're really not enjoying it. And if you can back it off, and this is my recommendation, especially for people who are drinking, pretty much every night, 1 to 2 glasses of wine.
Yeah.
Really try to scale that back to say like Friday, Saturday. And the reason is because I say 2 nights a week, but then I'm very specific about, let's make those 2 nights per week be 2 nights back to back. Okay.
Yeah.
Because your liver has to have time to detoxify. And depending on how much you drank, you're going to need 24 to 72 hours, let's just say 48 hours to detoxify that alcohol, which is a toxin, right? We know this.
Right.
In order to get back on track for metabolizing. So if you drink, say, Friday night, Saturday night, now you have, okay, Sunday, Monday, you're detoxifying, and then we can get back on track for our metabolism Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
As opposed to, drinking Tuesday night, now you're detoxifying for a couple of days, and then drinking Friday night, now you're detoxifying for a couple of days. So it's more beneficial to have those days, be close together, and you'll enjoy it more. I mean, the wine will even taste better cutting it back to those 2 nights per week.
All right. I'm going to let you know this Friday, because I started after I heard you say that. And last night we went to our favorite Italian restaurant where they have delicious wine. And I had San Pellegrino with a splash of cranberry juice.
That's huge, because I'll say this too. Wine is such a social thing. So part of going out to dinner for many people, especially at an Italian restaurant, right? Wine. It's so much more than just having that glass of wine.
Yeah.
But let me also say this, and I would encourage anyone who has some type of watch or device that tracks your sleep. I am going to tell you, track your sleep with no alcohol at all. And then track your sleep with, I don't care if it's 1 glass of wine or it's 3 glasses of wine or it's 1 vodka soda water, whatever it is, your sleep will not be the same when you drink.
Wow.
It's actually mind-blowing. You might actually think you'll wake up in the morning and say, no, I think I got the same sleep last night. When you compare on your watch completely different. Your REM sleep will be down. You'll have heart rate spikes in the middle of the night. It's actually pretty fascinating to watch it. And I've actually done it thinking like, let's beat it this time. You know, I had 2 glasses of wine. It was a very low sulfite, very low sugar, best quality wine you can get. And sure enough, the next day, my sleep score is half of what it normally is. And I think that helps though, right? For those who like data, it's great to have that information and really see it for yourself and say, dang it, she was right. But I actually have the data, not just, you know, what she's telling me.
Yeah. So after you're listening to this, to my audience here, if you try this, I want you to send me a direct message on Instagram. Let me know if it's working for you. Let me know if you're sleeping better, because I bet half the women out there listening said, you didn't have me until you talked about sleep, Tanya. Now I want to sleep, so I'm going to try this darn thing.
It's true. And that is an area where so many women struggle, you know, is in that quality.
Yeah. Well, we jumped right in there, but, you know, and thank you for being so, you know, so willing to take my little joke there. But how do you feel, or what would you say led you into wanting to work with women on this very specific thing? What has been sort of like the thing that has driven you to do this?
You know, it's my own personal story, which I didn't even realize initially was going to be my own personal story, because I wasn't dealing with some big disease or, you know, anything that I was aware of. I just happened to, I was in the middle of my 30s, okay, mid 30s. My whole life had been, my background is competing in figure competitions, okay, half marathons, Spartan races, CrossFit competitions across the country. I mean, when I do something, I do it all the way. Mm-hmm. And I had hit my mid 30s and things were changing. And I was starting to just sort of like, the scale was creeping up, not drastically, but I couldn't lose weight. I couldn't be at the healthy weight that I knew was, you know, easy for me to be at. I put athletes on stage in bikinis. That was my profession. So I know how to take body fat off a person, but I was kind of losing control over that in myself. I was calling myself lazy because I had lost motivation for doing things that I once loved doing. I was developing a lower belly pooch. I mean, it was all of these things that were like, sort of like quote unquote normal, right? Mm-hmm. Like, well, a lot of people deal with these things. And I had lost my sex drive. And this is really important for relationships, for marriages. Sure. And luckily my husband and I were able to talk about it, because I could say, you know, hey, honey, it's not you. It has nothing to do with you. It's just, there's something going on in me where something just seems out of balance. And I had gone to my doctor, who I said, can you just run labs? And I didn't even know what I meant by run labs. I just run everything, right? I need to know what is wrong. And I remember my results came in. I go to my appointment and she says, these are great. She tosses my labs next to me and she goes, I wish I had your labs. You're going to live to be 100 years old.
Wow.
Like it was this positive thing. And I was completely devastated because I felt awful. I mean, I just had and I remember at this time I owned 2 brick and mortar supplement and nutrition stores. And one of my most favorite things to do was to give nutrition seminars. And I remember one day I walked in with an energy drink in hand. Okay, that's very out of character for me, but I was so tired. And I remember thinking, I hope not enough people show up today so that we can just reschedule this thing. Oh. That was really my cue to say, you got to look into this. Yeah. And so fast forward to finally meeting with she's a medical doctor, but she had turned more to the functional side and had run through some testing with her. And I was diagnosed with not adrenal fatigue, but adrenal exhaustion. And she said to me that day, I don't ever want to hear you call yourself lazy again, because you are far from it. And I had permission in that moment. I wasn't lazy. There was something physiologically going on with me. And so I really walked myself through that entire healing journey and knew that I had to change the trajectory of my business to this. It needed to go from fat loss to walk on stage to compete in a show to truly healing and whole health. And then guess what? When we get healthy, the fat loss comes. That's like a side effect now, but it's not the main focus.
Yeah. And I bet you there are women listening right now that are saying, I got those same lab results and I wanted her to say something was wrong with me so that she could fix me, right? And then
100%.
yeah, and then for the doctor to just, I imagine women just feel so defeated. They walk out of there feeling like it's all my fault. What am I doing? And there's answers. So when a woman gets those kind of answers from her doctor, her primary care physician that she's been seeing for years, what do you suggest she does?
Well, and I even got lucky in that she didn't try to prescribe me Xanax or
Right.
antidepressant or birth control to quote unquote balance my hormones. She didn't go there with me, but I will tell you a vast majority of my clients, that is what they've gone through. And they'll come to me either being on some of those medications or saying, I know I'm not depressed. It's something else. I'm not depressed. I've never been depressed. And the one thing I want to say is this too, because I never want it to seem like I'm putting down doctors. We of course, we need our doctors. We need our modern medicine doctors, our conventional medicine doctors. They are there to keep us alive. And so that day, what she told me was, her translation was terrible in saying you're going to live to be 100. But what she was telling me that day is you don't have any disease.
Right.
And that's great news. Perfect. Thank you. I'm alive. I don't have disease. Now let me go find somebody to optimize my health.
Right.
Because ultimately that's what I was looking to do.
So let's go back to your title here for a minute. Functional Nutritional Therapy Practitioner. What does that mean? Break that down for us.
It's a mouthful. That's what it is. Oh my gosh. So these days I tend to just say functional practitioner because, and a lot of times when you're doing little short snippets for things, right, you only have 30 seconds and then that title takes up like 25 seconds. Yeah. So I say functional practitioner. But what it is we really are looking to heal the body from a nutritional standpoint. And so you really get to work on something like say you find out your hormones are out of balance. You need more progesterone. You need more testosterone. If you just go and jump on bioidentical hormones, well, okay, some people do that, but you've really missed an opportunity to lay the foundation, nutritionally speaking, through minerals, through fatty acids, your vitamins, to get your body to produce what it can. And then I always say, okay, we've worked together for a period of time. Progesterone has come up a bit. Testosterone maybe came up enough. And so now you can go top off that progesterone, right, with potentially a bioidentical hormone. I'm a fan of bioidentical hormones, but I'm not a fan of them as that first line of defense. I'm a fan as let's top off with what it is that we need, because really adrenals are a huge problem for women in general. And reason being, when we are in our adolescent years, so before we can bear a child, the responsibility of our sex hormones is on our adrenal glands, which is fine because we're not stressed as children. Mm-hmm. Then we enter our childbearing years, and that responsibility predominantly goes on to our ovaries, right? Our adrenals are still shooting out some sex hormones, but our ovaries are producing the most. Then we enter perimenopause and menopause. Our ovaries start to go to sleep. And guess who gets the responsibility back for producing those hormones?
The adrenals.
The adrenals do. And what have we done to the adrenals through being a mom, being a career woman, having a marriage? Not to say marriage is stressful, but it comes with its stresses, right? Just being an adult. And so why don't we get in there and nourish your adrenals, give them a shot, give them a chance, then you can come in with bioidenticals if necessary.
Yeah, I think I skipped a step because I am on bioidenticals and progesterone. And I would say that I felt like it helped quite a bit back then when I first started. But I switched to a new doctor a couple of months back here. I guess it's been 6 months back. And I just don't feel like I'm not totally on track anymore. I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling that irritability that I remember from way back when, and not sleeping as good as I could be. And I was watching some of your Instagram information today, your content, and I just happened to have my lab results here. So you are really big, and I was so impressed by this. You are really big on understanding what labs are ordered from your doctor. So you talked about free T3. That's hard to say. Free T3, and you talked about how it can sort of like be tricked, like your body can be tricked by that, and you're not really producing, your T3 isn't really converting to T4 like it should be. So I thought I would give you my numbers here and you can tell me what you think. Because I had one doctor, I was living near St. George about 6 months ago. He was about ready to put me on thyroid medicine, which scared me. And now this doctor's like, no, you're fine. So I'm like, okay, how do I get fine in 6 months all by myself? So, okay, so which one do you want me to read first? The T4, the TSH, the free T3?
So actually just give them all to me, because what we can do is, and here's what I will say, that if for some reason I was told you can only run one thyroid hormone, you get to pick one. You're working with this client, you get one thyroid hormone. Which do you want? In that case, I would say free T3. Okay. And I want to stress that because it really is the most important. Reason being, it is the only active usable thyroid hormone by your body. Every cell on your body has a free T3 receptor site. And we produce T4. Okay. T4 is not active. Your body can't use it. T4 must convert into free T3. Now your body can use it. However, what can happen sometimes is that T4, instead of converting into free T3, will convert into reverse T3.
Oh, reverse. I missed that one. You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
And reverse T3, you want to think of as like a doppelganger to free T3. Looks the same. I mean, it looks just the same as free T3. So much so that it can go and attach to a free T3 receptor site. Only it's like attaching a balloon there. Like it's nothing. It's just taking up space. So now free T3 comes along and goes, oh, hey, I need to attach to that receptor site to give my person beautiful hair, give her energy, give her beautiful eyebrows. And it goes, shoot, it can't get through that reverse T3. So that doppelganger is taking up space. It's like this imposter. And now free T3 can't get to it. Okay. So you want to take a look at both free T3 and reverse T3, because sometimes I'll see that free T3 it's actually optimal. But if that reverse T3 is elevated, then we know free T3 can't get to where it's going. And I will say this, we often find that because this conversion happens in your liver and in your gut. So I often will find a congested liver if this conversion is having trouble.
From drinking too much of that nightly wine.
And that, right. Part of it, absolutely. Yeah. Or women who are dealing with constipation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So before we dive into my numbers, can you just quick run through like what would be some of the symptoms a woman would be looking out for if she had low thyroid function?
So hair thinning and hair fallout is a big one. Losing the outer third of your eyebrows, interestingly enough, if they just kind of start to thin a little bit, having brittle nails, having dry skin, weight gain, low energy. Those are going to be really your main symptoms that you may be struggling with. And then of course, symptoms overlap, right? Some of those are due to sex hormones and things. But when you kind of can identify with a lot of those, you certainly do want a full thyroid panel. And I can, if your listeners want, I can run through the list of those so that they can write them down too.
Yeah, let's do that. So let's go through mine real quick and then we'll have you run down so everybody can get their pen and paper handy while they're listening to this. So free T3, 2.9. Okay,
yeah, so that is not optimal. What is your TSH?
TSH is 0.829.
Okay, so TSH is fine. And here's the thing. This is actually a really important point for people to understand before going into these markers. You don't have anything. Your free T3 shows, quote unquote, within range, right? Normal.
Sure.
Okay. So conventional medicine ranges, the important thing to understand about those is it means that, how do they come up with those ranges? If you live in California or you live in Florida or you live in Montana, those ranges are going to be different. They actually have to do with your demographic area. So what they do is they take a look at where you live and they say, well, Terry, most people in your area, their free T is between here and here. And so as long as you're between here and here, you're good to go. You're quote unquote normal. And then you take a look at the people around you and you go, well, I'm not trying to be the average of all those around me, right? I'm trying to optimize my health. So we look at a much tighter range when we're talking from a functional perspective. So 2.9 would be quote unquote normal. I don't like to see a free T3 lower than 3.2. But women generally tend to feel better closer to a 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it says my previous result was 2.6, so it went up 0.3. But I did start taking a thyroid supplement, and I was taking, let's see if I should have grabbed the bottle, but I think it's got zinc and selenium and now I can't remember.
So that's a good point. So if somebody is struggling in the area of T4, if their T4 is low, then supplementing with iodine is a really great idea. But if that conversion is struggling, you've got adequate T4, but it's not converting adequately into free T3, selenium can be a great so you probably, yes, have some selenium in there. But I will say this also, you don't want to just start supplementing if you're not going to be getting your lab testing done, because there is such thing as, overloading on selenium as well.
Yeah. The doctor that back in St. George, he's the one that told me to start the selenium and the iodine. And then, I feel like I'm going to go off on a little sidebar here real quick, but I feel like your phone is listening to you talk, because I'll be talking to my girlfriends about this. And then all of a sudden this, thyroid supplement starts popping up on my Instagram feed or something. So
that is a true story. That is a true story.
All right. So let's give the listeners, now that they've got their paper and pen handy, let's give them that list of labs that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Okay. So what you want is, they're always going to order a TSH, which is fine. TSH is actually not a thyroid hormone. It's thyroid stimulating hormone. That your pituitary actually stimulates your thyroid and says, hey, thyroid, make the rest of those thyroid hormones. So we know that when TSH is elevated, when it's above a 2, then we know that the pituitary is sensing that the thyroid's having trouble making adequate thyroid hormones. And so it's shooting out more of that TSH. And that TSH can be a tip off. That TSH being elevated can make us go, oh, we need to look at the rest of the thyroid hormones now. But it really doesn't tell us anything other than, hey, take a look at the rest of the thyroid. Okay. So TSH, total T4 and free T4, total T3 and free T3, reverse T3 is very important. T3 uptake, I actually like to have, because it's going to give us some information about estrogen in your body. And if you're in any type of estrogen dominance, or if maybe your body is having trouble ridding of excess estrogen. So that's that's actually another tip off for me to say, go take a look at estrogen in her body. Okay. And then you also want to test antibodies, your TPO and TG antibodies. And this is going to give us information about Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. Do you have any antibodies present? So you always want to test those, because sometimes you'll see actually an optimal thyroid where you go, oh, wow, all these numbers are great. But we see the presence of antibodies, say TPO antibodies. And what we know from that is those antibodies are eventually going to take a toll on the thyroid if you don't get the antibodies under control. And so that's why it's great to have that information ahead of time, so that you can love on your thyroid and make sure that it stays optimal.
Yeah. Wow, a lot of great information today. So if someone would be interested in working with you, I know you are in California. Are you able to work with people all across the United States?
I am. Actually, my business is 100% remote now. Okay. I offer both one-on-one. So in order to work with me one-on-one, I do require lab testing, which I can order for you, or you can get it through your doctor. Either way, I will say this. Doctors are generally either, number one, not willing to order all of the labs that we order, or number two, they actually can't. So for example, my clients who have Kaiser as insurance, they're specific, they will not order a reverse T3. It's like almost like they don't have the ability to. I'm not sure. I don't quite understand. So it can be a bit of a challenge. I've actually had GPs. So I'll give my clients a list. I'll say, hey, here's the labs we're going to run. If you want to try to get these covered by insurance, have at it. And I've actually had somebody send me a picture of the labs that they had taken in, the lab list that they took into their doctor. And he wrote useless next to free T3.
Wow.
The most important. So anyway, that's how I work with clients one-on-one. We work together in 12-week increments. I like to retest after 12 weeks. And so retesting every 12 weeks is a great idea until you're optimized. Then you can go to every 6 months. Then you can go to every year, which that's probably where you're at right now. You're probably in that place where it's a good idea to retest sex hormones to see if you do need an adjustment on your bioidenticals.
Yeah.
But then I also have a membership. So for those who either don't feel they need lab testing, or maybe it's not within their budget to work with me one-on-one, I have a hormone health meal plan membership where I actually teach about 3 Mondays out of every month on a topic as it relates to women's hormones. This month, we actually begin libido and hormone health, which again is really, really important for women. But so these women have access to me actually 3 Mondays out of the month. I go live. I come on Zoom. I teach for about 35 minutes or so. They can ask questions at the end. And so it's really a beautiful community.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Where could somebody find you to participate in something like that?
So you can go to my website, which is TanyaPennington-Miller.com. And Tanya is spelled with an A. Okay. And you can go to my membership tab and see that information there. You can also schedule a one-on-one consult with me. I offer a 25-minute consult to discuss it. If one-on-one lab testing is something you're interested in, schedule that consult and we can talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're also on Instagram at, I think I wrote it down here somewhere. Is it Tanya? I'm sorry, I was pronouncing your name wrong. .Pennington.Miller. Is that what it is on Instagram?
That's it. So same as my website, except there's a dot between my names, Tanya.Pennington.Miller.
Perfect. And then are you on any other socials where they can find you, Facebook or anything else, or just Instagram?
I do have my Facebook is Nourish to Thrive, _ Tanya Pennington-Miller. However, Facebook isn't real friendly to, I don't know if you have a business page on Facebook, but they really aren't friendly to businesses in terms of making it easy to find you or getting your content out by any means.
I kind of got discouraged on Facebook when we were all going through COVID and there was a lot of nastiness. So I really am more of an Instagram girl these days. So
it's better that way.
All right, I have 2 more questions for you. We can wrap up today. I do appreciate your time and you gave such great information. You said on Instagram that you should start your day with 16 ounces of lukewarm water, half of a lemon squeezed in, and half of a teaspoon of sea salt. Tell me what that does for our bodies.
Oh, let me tell you, this is one thing that when women start, they say, I can't start my day without it. Number one, usually what we do is we wake up and then we start basically injecting caffeine into our veins, right? Via coffee. And it's really great too. After you have been laying in a horizontal position all night, your endocrine system is just kind of stagnant. You want to fill your body with something other than coffee initially. Okay. So you want to get that salt in there and very specifically sea salt. I prefer Redmond's real salt, very highly mineralized. For sure, you don't want it to be regular table salt, okay, which is going to predominantly be sodium. You want to make sure it's a very highly mineralized salt, something like Redmond's. And then you squeeze that lemon in there. And this is going to be just wonderful detoxification. It's going to allow your endocrine system to get cleared out. You're going to get beautiful electrolytes from the salt. And it's just going to set your day up for success. I mean,
awesome.
Once you start doing it and then you don't do it, that's really when you notice the benefits of it, because you go, that's what I forgot today. I didn't do my lemon salt water flush.
Yeah, I have the habit already of getting up and I make myself drink 10 ounces of water before I drink my coffee, but now I'm going to add this. So thank you for that tip.
Yeah, you bet. And that's at minimum. You had the right idea for sure. Get some water in before doing your coffee, but then you can just really amp it up with that salt.
Yeah, for sure. Love that idea. Okay, Tanya, I'm going to ask you the question because of the name of the podcast. What do you think women want today?
I think women want to feel good.
Yeah.
I think women want to feel good and do the things, number one, that they once loved doing, and then all of the things that they know their future can have, whether they are, becoming empty nesters, soon to be empty nesters. Life is just beginning at that point.
Yeah.
They're tired.
You're right. I absolutely agree with you. I love that answer. Thank you so much for that. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for being here with me today. To the listeners, I will put all that information in the show notes, but go out to Tanya's website, go to Instagram and find her. She has so much good information out there. I just appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. And thank you for having this podcast. How beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.